Rain hits the pavement outside, cold, indifferent, relentless. You spent 4 years inside a classroom believing the storm couldn't touch you. You were wrong, dead wrong. Everything you were told about education, about degrees, about the path to success, it was a beautifully engineered lie. And the worst part? You paid for it. You paid 6 figures to walk into a trap that was designed before you were born. They told you the degree was the key. The architect's code tells you the truth. The degree was the cage. And right now, in 2026, that cage is shrinking. Around 80% of the people holding diplomas like shields against a war they don't even know they're fighting. The paper in your hand isn't a weapon, it's a leash. And someone on the other end has been holding it the whole time. Level 1, the trap. You graduate. You smile for the photograph. The mortarboard sits on your head like a crown. But underneath that ceremony, underneath the applause and the cheap champagne and your mother's proud tears, something is happening to your subconscious that nobody warned you about. A belief is being cemented into the deepest layer of your psychology. The belief that you have arrived, that the work is done, that the system will now reward you for your compliance. But the system was never designed to reward you. The architect's code exists because someone had to say what the professors wouldn't. The economy shifted 17 years ago, and the universities kept teaching the same curriculum. The factories of the mind kept producing the same product. And the market stopped buying that product a long time ago, but nobody turned off the machine. The machine is still running. You were the raw material. And now, you're the surplus inventory sitting in a warehouse called unemployment. Level 2. The illusion of merit. You believed in meritocracy. You worked harder than the kid next to you. You pulled the all-nighters, submitted the assignments, passed the examinations with distinction, and your subconscious filed all of that away as proof that the world would recognize your effort and compensate you accordingly. This is the most dangerous psychological trap ever constructed, because merit inside a broken system is just suffering with better grades. The silence in your apartment at 26 years old is deafening. The cold wind coming through that poorly sealed window in your entry-level job city flat, that's the sound of cognitive dissonance arriving on schedule. You did everything right, so why does everything feel wrong? Because the architect's code understands what they never taught you. Merit is a currency that only works inside functional markets, and the graduate job market of 2026 is anything but functional. Level 3, the Credential Inflation Engine. Here is what happened while you were studying. While you were memorizing theories and writing dissertations, the corporations were quietly moving the goalpost. They started requiring degrees for jobs that never needed degrees. They inflated the credential baseline not because the jobs became more complex, but because degrees became cheap, mass-produced, abundant. When supply exceeds demand, price collapses. Your 4-year investment, your debt, your sacrifice, all of it collapsed in value while you were still inside the building paying for it. Walk into any major city at 7 in the morning. Feel the cold concrete under your feet. Watch the faces of the people on the subway, the graduates, the overqualified, the indebted, and you'll see it, that hollow look behind the eyes. That is not tiredness. That is a subconscious mind that has realized the map it was given does not match the territory. The architect's code calls this the credential inflation trap, and it is the engine behind the useless class rising in real time around you. Level 4. The useless class defined. The term wasn't invented here. Yuval Noah Harari used it, but he spoke about it in the abstract, in the future tense. What nobody told you is that the future arrived early, and it arrived quietly, while the stock market kept going up, and the news kept calling it a recovery. The useless class is not the uneducated. That is the cruel irony that will keep you up at night if you let it sink in. The useless class is the overeducated, underskilled, debt-laden graduate who was trained for an economy that no longer exists. You have a marketing degree in an age of algorithmic advertising. You have a journalism degree in an era of AI-generated content. You have a business administration degree in a world where a 17-year-old with a laptop and a YouTube channel generates more real business acumen in 6 months than 4 years of case studies ever produced. The architect's code is not being cruel when it says this. It is being precise, because precision is what saves you. Sympathy is what keeps you stuck in the rain. Level 5. The psychological programming. Now we go deeper, beneath the economics, beneath the credential inflation, beneath the job market data. There is a psychological operation running on your subconscious that is far more sinister than any conspiracy theory. It begins in childhood. Sit still, follow instructions, raise your hand before speaking, get the grade, move to the next level. Repeat. Your nervous system was conditioned over 12 to 16 years to associate compliance with reward, to associate rule following with safety, to associate the institution with authority and truth. The cold, heavy silence of a library at midnight, the fluorescent lights humming above you, the smell of old paper and quiet desperation, all of it trained your brain to believe that the process itself was the point, that showing up, enduring, surviving the system, that was the achievement. But the architect's code sees what that programming actually produced. It produced a generation of high-functioning, obedient workers who are psychologically incapable of operating outside of institutional validation. And in 2026, the institutions have nothing left to validate you with. Level 6. The invisible recession context. The stock market is at record highs. The headlines say growth, the politicians say recovery, but you feel broke. Your rent is 40% of your income. Your groceries cost more than your parents' mortgage payment did in 1998. Your student loan sits on your chest like a stone at 3 in the morning. This is not your imagination. This is not a personal failure. This is the invisible recession. The economic condition where the aggregate numbers look healthy, while the individual experience is quietly catastrophic. And your degree, your beautiful, expensive degree, offers you zero protection against it. The rain outside your window isn't metaphorical tonight. It is literal. It is cold. It is indifferent to your qualifications. The economy of 2026 operates on a two-tier system, those who own assets and those who sell labor. Your degree trained you to sell labor. The architect's code is telling you that the price of labor is in a structural multi-decade decline, and no amount of additional credentials will reverse that trajectory. The game changed, the board changed, the pieces changed, and you were handed the rulebook for the old game and told it was timeless wisdom. Level 7. The dark architecture of the education industry. Follow the money and the fog clears immediately. Universities in the United States alone represent a $2.8 trillion industry. In the UK, in Australia, in Canada, in Pakistan, in India, the numbers scale proportionally. This is not an institution of learning operating with noble intentions that accidentally produced bad outcomes. This is an industry, a revenue-generating machine that captured government loan guarantee systems, lobbied for credential requirements in professional licensing, and constructed a cultural mythology around degrees so powerful that parents still threaten to disown children who dare to question it. Your subconscious absorbed that mythology before you had the cognitive tools to evaluate it. The architect's code exists at the intersection of psychology and finance precisely because the most powerful financial traps are never experienced as financial decisions. They are experienced as identity decisions. Going to university wasn't a return on investment calculation for you at 18. It was a statement about who you were, about your intelligence, about your family's pride, about your belonging to the class of people who succeeded. That identity hijacking is the darkest architectural feature of the entire system, and it is why the trap is so elegant and so devastating. Level 8. The skills that actually pay. The rain is still falling, but now we change direction, because the point of understanding the trap is not despair, it is navigation. The economy of 2026 does not reward credentials, it rewards capabilities, specific, demonstrable, market-validated capabilities. The programmer who built 3 products that failed still understands software architecture better than the computer science graduate who passed every examination but never shipped a single line of code to a real user. The person who ran a small online business at a loss for 2 years understands consumer psychology, margins, marketing, and operations better than an MBA graduate who studied case studies about businesses other people built. The architect's code is not being cruel when it says this. It is being precise,
because precision is what saves you. Sympathy is what keeps you stuck in the rain. Level 9, the architect mindset versus the student mindset. Here is what the psychological rewiring that separates the people who escape the useless class from those who don't. The student mindset, the one you were conditioned into, operates on external validation. It asks, what does the institution want from me?
It asks, what does the institution want from me? And then delivers that. It waits for instructions. It waits for grades. It waits for permission. It is fundamentally passive at its psychological core, dressed up in the aesthetic of hard work and discipline. The architect mindset operates on an entirely different axis. It does not ask what the institution wants. It asks, what does the market actually need? And how do I build the capability to deliver that at a level nobody else can match? The architect's code is not just a name. It is a philosophy of economic self-construction. The architect does not inherit a building. The architect designs one from first principles, stress tests every assumption, and builds for the environment that actually exists rather than the environment they were told to expect. In 2026, the environment is volatile, credential skeptical, capability obsessed, and brutally Darwinian in how it prices human output. The architect thrives in this environment. The student is destroyed by it. And the difference between them is not intelligence. It is not talent. It is not even work ethic. It is the single question they ask when they wake up in the morning. Level 10, the architect. You are still in the rain, but now you know why it's raining. You know who built the pipes that direct the water over you while others stay dry. You know the psychological mechanics of how you were led to stand in exactly this spot, with exactly this level of debt and exactly this level of confusion. And knowledge, real, precise, uncomfortable knowledge, is the only foundation that anything durable can be built upon. This is where the script flips. This is where the architect's code becomes not a diagnosis, but a blueprint. The useless class rises not because the people in it are useless, but because they were programmed to be useful to a machine that no longer needs them in the way it once did. The machine replaced the tasks but kept the mythology. It kept you paying for preparation to perform functions that algorithms now handle at a fraction of the cost and at a scale no human workforce can compete with. You are not defective, you are misallocated, and misallocation is a problem with a solution, not a verdict with a sentence. The architect in 2026 builds in the spaces the machine cannot reach. Genuine human judgment, creative synthesis, relationship-based trust, complex problem navigation in ambiguous environments, the integration of emotional intelligence with technical execution. These are not soft skills. That phrase was invented by people who wanted to dismiss them. These are the premium skills of the next economy, and they are almost entirely absent from every traditional degree program in existence. The architect's code has been building a map of these spaces since before it had a name for them. You stop waiting for the institution to validate you. You stop measuring your worth in credentials and start measuring it in capabilities. You stop asking permission to be valuable and start constructing value directly, visibly, undeniably. The cold wind is still there. The rain doesn't stop because you changed your mindset. The world is indifferent to your internal transformation, but the architect doesn't need the weather to change. The architect builds shelter. The architect reads the storm and decides where to stand and what to construct and how to make the environment work in service of the outcome rather than against it. This is the conversation the architect's code was built to have, not the comfortable conversation, not the motivational poster version of this reality, the precise, gritty, psychologically honest version that treats you as an adult capable of confronting uncomfortable truths and building something real from the rubble of the narratives you were sold. 80% of degrees are liabilities in 2026, not because the people who hold them are liabilities, but because the system that produced them was never accountable to the future. You are accountable to yours. Start building accordingly.